Good morning, everybody. Happy Tuesday. It's March 11th, 2025, and I have all of these stories for your rush hour ride to work. And on today's episode, we have Twitter getting hacked multiple times yesterday, what Elon Musk has to say, and more interestingly, what Anonymous has to say, the group behind the hacking. Also, an update on the track attack, the relay race that left one high school student injured. Well, the other student is now speaking out, saying, hey, I didn't do it on purpose. And also, speaking of a he said, she said, or in that case, it was a she said, we've got Bachelorette arrested. Deanna, the former Bachelorette, arrested. Pretty ugly situation we're going to get into involving her ex and her ex's mother, so her ex-mother-in-law. And then we'll have an update on Blake Lively as Candace Owens reveals some of the dialogue that goes into the billing negotiations. And by that, I mean how someone appears on a movie poster, what words are used to sort of introduce them, starring, co-starring, a film by, that type of thing. We're going to get into the nitty-gritty of what people are saying it's like to work on set with those negotiating, I guess, for their star power. Also, I've got Tesla stock dropping, and along with that, we will be sharing thoughts on the Ukraine negotiations that are now happening with the United States. They are back on the negotiating table. And also, Fox fights back. That's right, a Fox reporter pushes back on the Speaker of the House, who had said only paid protesters are the ones fighting back, and they're saying, no, we are too. So lots to get into, ton of content. You're here in the right place. Let's all get us started right now. I'm Dave Neal, and this is The Rush. All right, let's start with a massive story yesterday. There were multiple cyber attacks on Twitter, or I should call it X. Elon posted this. There is a massive cyber attack against X. We get attacked every day, but this was done with a lot of resources. Either a large coordinated group and or a country is involved tracing. Now, I think he also claimed that it could have been Ukraine, but as we're seeing, the hacking group Anonymous has taken credit for it. Anonymous is a group of anonymous hackers who, they're there to do good. They expose crime and they expose corruption and things like that. So here's what they posted. Anonymous, Operation Dreadnought. We are here to fight against the fascism that has taken root in America. The Republican Party, MAGA, Trump, and Musk are imbeciles who are drunk on power and get off on trampling down others. The American people are suffering for it. The world is suffering for it. These are some of the worst people on the planet, hell-bent on destroying it and everyone on it. They lack morals, empathy, common decency, and any sense that we are a community. They are not kings. They do not speak for the people. They will be removed. We are anonymous. We are a legion. We do not forgive. We do not forget. Expect us. Wow. So multiple attacks. I mean, I don't use Twitter that often, so I didn't even notice that this happened to you guys. I mean, I would love it if Anonymous would just hack all social media. Wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't it be nice if we didn't have to be logged onto our phones all day long? Not just social media. Every product has an app now. I just bought a vacuum, and I had to download an app to use the vacuum. Why do I need an app to use a vacuum? Like, they're just keeping us tethered to the device. Well, because then on the app, you can buy the new filters that you're going to need. It's a lot. It's a lot. And anyway, that's not the point of why Anonymous hacked, but that's what they did. So we'll have to see if they're doing any future hacking. And I don't know who they are, but it's kind of cool, right? I don't know. Regardless of what you think of Twitter, it's kind of cool to think that they're kind of like this Robin Hood group of dudes or ladies, hackers. I don't know what they are. All right, let's move it on to a pop culture story. Jennifer Garner is in the news. This is interesting. Her boyfriend, John Miller, was seen with his ex after Ben Affleck cozied up with Jen. Oh boy. People have wondered, are the partners okay with this? I mean, look, this is dating in your 40s, right? 40s and 50s. This is it. You got exes, you got kids, you got to see the kids with the exes. So I guess, people have wondered, how's Jennifer Garner's boyfriend okay with the fact that she's cozying up with Ben Affleck? And I think if you're cool with it, you're cool with it. You got to have confidence your relationship's better than the previous one. But I mean, Ben Affleck, now that he's no longer with J-Lo, maybe he goes back to J-Gar. Who knows? knows? You know what I mean? So either way, we'll have to see if any of that friction wedges its way between these relationships. And let's get to the high school track update. The track attack, the baton attack under investigation. So now, as you're looking, we already covered this, but it looks very clear like someone's being struck in the head with a baton. I can't speak to the strength and heaviness of these batons, but every baton I've used is like really not, I mean, I've done some relay races in my day, folks, but they're not that heavy. But, it would still hurt if you hit at full speed. Now, we're going to hear from the lady who is accused of striking the other lady in the head with the baton. She says it was an accident. Now, to be fair, if you look at the track lines, the lady who has the baton in her hand is on the outside part of the lane, and the other runner is on the inside part of her lane. And you should be on the inside part of your lane, but you're allowed to run around. Now, could there be a scenario in which, as she's running, she tried to swim over her they're running so fast with their arms moving so fast that I actually almost believe this girl, high school tracker, who is saying, hey, it was an accident. I almost believe her. I mean, it's not that clear cut. Have a listen.
Feelings. So you're physically hurt, but you're not thinking of my mental, right?
Alayla Everett is a decorated athlete and senior at IC Norcom High School. She would have never thought her trip to the Class 3 track and field state finals last Tuesday would take a drastic turn.
They're going off of one angle.
Alayla visibly emotional because of this video from the meet. This was a 4x200 meter relay race, and she and a Brookville High School athlete were rounding a curve on the track when they nearly collided with each other.
After a couple times hitting her, my baton got stuck behind her back like this, and it rolled up her back. I lost my balance, and when I pumped my arms again, she got hit.
It appears intentional, but Alayla says it was accidental.
And look, I mean, it does kind of appear intentional, but it's easy to see that in super slow motion. My thought would be this, not that anybody's asking, but my thought would be, does she have any prior incidences where she's hitting people or having any issues? And if there's no prior instances of any reckless behavior, maybe you can find a way to work this out. Because, I mean, it'd be terrible, who are we to judge in the heat of the moment what's intentional and what's not? When, you're running these races, you kind of throwing elbows and things like that. Again, it looked malicious, but at this point, if you don't know for sure, I mean, I don't know what you're supposed to do. We'll have to cover it as they will be heading to court, so we will see. All right, and speaking of court, former Bachelorette Deanna arrested after altercation with ex-husband Steven Stagliano. It's a really interesting and sad story. They have a kid together, and court documents show that Steven Stagliano's mother is involved. So you know how it is. Deanna's got to deal with her ex-husband, and then also she's got to deal with the ex-husband's mother. Oh, oy vey. Either way, they've got a 9-year-old son. I don't know too much about Deanna. I didn't follow her season at the time. But here's what Lynn says, Steven's mother. When I arrived, I very clearly smelled alcohol on Deanna's breath, alleging that she put Austin in the car and left. This was not the first time I picked up Austin. My husband picks him up more. Later that night, Steven arrived at Deanna's home to pick up Addison. The former ABC star claimed she walked their daughter to his car. Steven told me I needed to walk closer to him because he wanted to smell my breath to make sure that I was not drunk. I had not consumed any alcohol. I ignored Steven's comment and I walked back into the garage. And by the way, I don't think that's a terrible thing to ask someone if they've been drinking when I think there has been an alcohol issue in the past, at least to the point where they agreed they wouldn't be drinking while they were with the children. She continued, I heard noise behind me. I turned around to see Steven following me into my garage. Addison was left alone sitting in his car with the engine running. I tried to shut my garage door. Steven pushed my garage door upwards so that it would not close. I shouted at Steven to get out of my garage. Steven refused to leave. She went inside, locked her door, walked back out after she heard noises. She alleged that Steven was stealing items out of the garage. And again, what was he taking? Was he taking his old, skateboard or what? What was he just stealing her lawnmower? I need more details. Steven took his hands, grabbing me, and then forcefully shoved me. He pushed my back again. In fear that he would hurt me, I immediately went back inside the house, locked the door while I waited for the police to arrive. According to her, the police told her that Steven accused her of being drunk and was pressing charges against her for domestic violence. Steven had told the sheriff that I was the aggressor who assaulted him, which was false. At no time time was I requested to test for alcohol despite Stevens' allegations. In fact, the officer that arrested me exhibited no concern that I was at all intoxicated. So this is just sad stuff. So she was arrested on misdemeanor charge and released the same day on $20,000 bond. She claimed she voluntarily submitted to drug testing after being bailed out of jail and tested negative for both. Again, was it blood testing? Because if it's blood testing, that's pretty conclusive, right? She denied the allegations she was drinking, and the basis of Stevens' fabrication that I am an alcoholic is wholly false and fabricated as a way for him to gain leverage in his attempt to alienate the children from me. First of all, this sounds terrible, but at the same time, not knowing anything else than what I'm reading, I am on Deanna's side here. It sounds like, look, she wasn't drinking, so why is he in her house? You know what I mean? At that point, he's kind of on her property. So real messy stuff. You feel bad for the kids. She filed a restraining order against him on March 7th, ordering him to be 100 yards away from her. A hearing date has been set for later this month. We will be covering this, folks. We will be covering this. Sad stuff. And, a lot of times with these divorces, there's no way to control each other, so they use the kids, at least psychologically, and think they're doing the right thing, but clearly this is not good for the children. Now, if she was drinking, he has every right to want to know, because that can be a dangerous scenario for raising a kid, and, if you're drunk and all of that. So I understand it, but pretty wild stuff. Okay, we got a couple stories to get to. Let's take a quick break. We're going to be back with this protester that was arrested and deported from Columbia University while a judge says, hold on. We'll have that story next. This is a pretty wild story because, hey, if we can just arrest people for peacefully protesting, then we're going to live in a society where no one's allowed to speak up against the government. That is not a world I want to live in. Regardless of what side of the debate you're on, the debate needs to happen. And yet, the current administration was trying to deport a Palestinian activist. Well, a judge blocked that demand. Have a listen to this.
A federal judge is now stepping in to block the removal of Mahmoud Khalil from the United States until a decision is made on a petition challenging his detention. Now, Khalil's lawyers say the former Columbia University student who helped organize what they classified as pro-Palestinian rallies was picked up by ICE on Saturday, and he was told that his student visa was being revoked. His attorneys telling ABC News he has a green card. The arrest comes as President Trump vows to defund universities that allow what he calls illegal protests. Khalil's detention sparking more protests here you see at New York, including at Columbia University's campus. Columbia's interim president issuing a statement saying the university is deeply committed to the freedom of speech as a fundamental value for citizens and non-citizens.
And you'll have people say, well, he was pro-Hamas, and they'll conflate Hamas versus being pro-Palestinian. And look, when it comes down to it is, if you exist in this country, and again, I don't know the exact rules around having a visa and what can be revoked or not, but a green card or a citizenship here, you have the right to exist in public spaces and share your opinion and peacefully protest. Now, if they're organizing some sort of crime, that's a different story. But who is to judge what is unlawful and not? And it looks like the judge is here to get in the way of what might be overstepping of boundaries. All right, well, let's get to this Blake Lively story. This is an interesting one. Here we have Candace Owens. Careful there. Candace Owens talks about Blake Lively's pursuit of top billing in The Simple Favor 2. She unveils the hidden world behind the glitz of Hollywood, that being the negotiations that happen when it comes to who's going to be on the poster and who's not. Now, as you guys might remember, Blake successfully was able to get Justin's A Film By credit removed from a poster. It was supposed to say a film by Justin Baldoni for It Ends With Us, and for whatever reason, they got that removed, probably because she said, well, we wrote these scenes and we edited it, so it's not really his film anymore. Well, here's what Candace Owens had to say regarding the ins and outs of this kind of like very strange and bizarre flexing of egos.
Blake Lively apparently fought for top billing in this film. And these are things that we don't even consider as the public, but even when you see a movie poster, that's a fight between people of who's going to be on the movie poster, who's going to be presented as the star of this film.
You know, if there's a new person like Abigail Breslin's first movie, her agent would negotiate that it'll say in the opening credits, and introducing Abigail Breslin. That's why you'll see so-and-so's in the movie and so-and-so, and then special guest star, and it's negotiated how it's going to be delivered as a way to, it's all ego. It's all ego. It really, none of it makes a difference.
What level are they going to be on? How small is the picture going to be on? And now that we know that Blake Lively is quite aggressive in general during these movie negotiations, it was revealed that she was similarly aggressive about The Simple Favor 2, and she wanted to be featured prominently. And I'm sure maybe she would have had a different opinion about that if she had known which way this Justin Baldoni suit was going to go in terms of the public. But she is indeed now due to, you want to be front facing, you have to be front facing, and she is going to have to walk the red carpet. Now, listen, I want to be clear. They will prepare for that a million different ways. They will tell journalists what they can and cannot ask. Her PR firm will only walk her up to certain friendly journalists. So this apprehension is kind of, like I said, just trying to make people feel bad. And I think it's kind of perfect karma that now there's this apparent friction between her and Anna Kendrick, like real friction with her co-star, because she wanted Blake Lively to address her ongoing battle with Baldoni. And she could have pulled out of this lawsuit. There obviously now is this big elephant that's in the room that no one wants to acknowledge, and they're going to walk this red carpet and not acknowledge it unless, of course, Ryan Reynolds walks the red carpet with her and makes a couple of Ryan Reynolds jokes, a couple of Deadpool jokes in his perfect style. My guess is she's not going to bring him because he's almost more disliked than she is, and that her promo game is just to pretend that she's really scared of the public now, when she was the person who initially wanted all of this to be publicized because she was so confident in her power and her husband's power.
Here's my thoughts with Candace Owens right here. And again, I'm not dissecting her whole list of opinions on worldly events, but specifically with Baldoni, she gets it dead on right here when it comes to Blake Lively, because this was recorded, I'm assuming, before the red carpet premiere, and as we saw, there was a interior journalist line, and then the public was another half a street away. So no one else even got close to Blake Lively other than pre-selected people, which it's look, fine for her safety, but it's not about safety, right? It's about people have a lot of questions. They want answers, and it's just not going to happen. And I understand that that's not the venue for it. They have every right on their own red carpet event to do what they want with this movie, but it does make it very, very difficult for this movie to operate press when they can't speak to the press. As far as this idea that Anna Kendrick has beef with her, I mean, I can see it. I can see the bitterness that exists there. Now, what I'm going to share with you in our next video, so you're going to have to hold on to this because it's a much longer story, is a source that spoke out from It Ends With Us. The source explains, hey, listen, Justin didn't know what he was doing as a director, complete novice, but in no way whatsoever did he harass her in any way whatsoever. So I'm going to share that. So make sure you're subscribed and stick around for that. It's going to be a pretty interesting piece of tea, because you might say, oh, anybody could write this, which is true, but the source doesn't really come at it from a PR angle where one person's looking better than the other. Justin looks like a novice, but in the end, he looks like he wasn't, everyone on set says, hey, there was no knowledge of any wrongdoing whatsoever. So again, I'll have that for you next. But first, let's just go to this. Speaking of billing, just for humor me for a second, I always think about this sketch from Funny or Die. It is very old, and it is Steve Carell. And again, it's a sketch fiction, but he is complaining that his head size isn't big enough on the movie posters, and he actually asks the executives to come back and make his head bigger. And I just want to share a part of the clip for you guys here. So this is Steve Carell playing Steve Carell.
I have to take my kid to the thing. Oh my God, that's what I'm talking about! Oh my God, can I take all four? Here.
So they literally are just movie posters of his head being double the size. But it's a play on actors, because actors are a little bit cuckoo, right? They got big heads, both physically and ironically. All right, so some more stories coming your way next. All right, so let's end with tariffs, Ukraine, Tesla, and Doge. How about that? All the updated stories that are crashing the economy. First, here we have Ukraine. Rubio and Zelensky arrive in Saudi Arabia for peace talks.
Ukraine's President Zelensky working to repair a strained relationship with President Trump and try and secure a deal to end his country's war with Russia. Right now, Saudi Arabia is hosting the two countries, hoping to smooth over peace talks with Russia since the Oval Office blow-up. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, as you can see, will be sitting down with Saudi's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman just ahead of those peace talks with Ukraine tomorrow. The meeting comes as Russian forces claim they're gaining ground in Russia's Kursk region that Ukraine seized a foothold in just last year. Our Patrick Reevel's on the story for us.
So anyway, you know what's interesting is Russian TV was reporting, basically using clips from that bad meeting that Zelensky had with Trump, and Russian TV was reporting like, look, we're not going to do any ceasefire. We're coming to take all of this. So I don't understand what sort of deal they're going to get done. I just don't see it happening. But hey, I'd rather peace than no peace. I just don't see Ukraine giving up any of its land after fighting. I think they're going to want to fight to the death. That's what I think. We will see. All right. Well, speaking of fighting, here is Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, talking about tariffs and those pesky tariffs that the U.S. put on our good pal of Canada.
Until these tariffs are off the table, until the threat of tariffs is gone for good, Ontario will not relent. We will not back down. Pausing some tariffs, making last-minute exemptions, it won't cut it. We need to end the chaos once and for all. We need to sit down, work together, and land a fair deal. A deal that gives businesses the confidence to invest. A deal that gives workers the security they need and deserve. Until then, Ontario will keep up the fight. We will apply maximum pressure to maximize our leverage. That's why today we're moving forward with a 25% surcharge on electricity exports.
There it is. More or less the same conversation we had. It's going to affect multiple states in our country, and you thought your summer heating bill was or your summer cooling bill was already expensive. Well, call your congressman, right? And here we have Elon Musk talking about Tesla. The question was, will Tesla executives ever be investigated for allowing Elon to continue destroying the company as CEO? Now, Tesla's a great company, right? I own a Tesla. Tesla's fantastic. The cars aren't the best made electric cars out there, but they really moved the needle as far as electric vehicles in this country. The electric car industry was dead, and Tesla, really changed that. The problem is Elon's got all these other things going on, but he has a fiduciary duty to all the stockholders of Tesla to work hard to make the company as good as possible. Now, it has gone down so much in value the last few weeks. It's not looking good.
Hearing a call to action.
Yeah.
You giving up your other stuff? I mean, how are you running your other businesses?
Ketamine.
With great difficulty. Yeah, I mean.
But there's no turning back, you're saying?
So there it is. That's what's it called? Multi-function syndrome. Too many choices out there. Got too much going on. Pick one thing and do it right. Trying to fix Doge where Tesla is losing literally trillions. All right, here we have again our final story is a Fox News host. She is a liberal contributor to Fox News, if that changes your opinions on things. But a Fox News host actually has a chance to talk to Mike Johnson. Now, Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, has said, all these town halls that are happening are just Soros-funded Democratic operatives. Well, not exactly. Here we have a Fox News host also telling him the truth.
Look, I worked in the federal government for 10 years. There are certainly ways it could be more efficient. This is moving fast and breaking things and hurting a lot of people in the process. And the government shouldn't be in the business of firing a veteran who served their country for 20 years and then having to fix it later. I don't trust that it will fix it later. I just don't. And you can come up, look, there are a lot of comical things that President Trump mentioned at the State of the Union that you mentioned about the government was spending money on. A lot of things that are getting cut are cancer research. Support for scientists across this country saving the lives of children with cancer. That's just one. So we can talk about cuts, but doing it this way hurts Americans. It's irresponsible. And quite frankly, that's why you see not just paid protesters, with all due respect, some constituents in Republican districts who are coming to these town halls and saying, I'm a veteran. I lost my job. I have come to work every day. How can you, and Elon Musk makes millions of dollars every day from the American government, and you're firing these people.
What a scolding. I mean, pretty wild stuff. And look, I mean, she's got a point. These aren't paid protesters. These are goddamn American citizens, right? These are people that lost their job or have worked years in the federal department or veterans. I mean, heck, we've interviewed them, right? Our friend Jenna, we've interviewed veterans who were told, you got to go, it's just put in situations for no reason whatsoever that affected their livelihood and their family's livelihood. The collateral damage that we're seeing between the tariff wars that didn't need to exist and all these other things. And then they're calling them, this is just Biden's economy. Well, a lot of forecasters are saying there is up to a 40% chance that we're going to fall into a recession in 2025. When there's a recession, that means they're not going to lower the interest rates, which means people aren't going to buy homes. Everyone's going to hold on to their money. Companies like airlines like Delta are showing that their profits are in the basement because people aren't going on vacations. All of these things where people tighten up their purse are bound to happen. And I'm not saying the world was perfect before. There was a lot of, economic inequality between the upper class and the lower middle class. And it wasn't great before. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. But we did have the best stock market of all time just a couple months ago, and it's quite alarming how quickly things can take a turn for the worst. You can break an economy very quickly, but it's going to take a long time to put it back together. If somebody was planning on retiring this year and they had their money and their retirement in the stock market, good luck. You might have had tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars wiped out because of this. And I feel bad for those people. I feel bad for the people whose contracts were canceled and the farmers that, lost grants that they were promised and all these other things. And again, make no mistake about it. All of this money that is said that's going to be saved, none of which has been properly audited, doesn't even come close to the number of tax breaks the ultra rich are going to get. So it's not like the money's coming back in our pocket. We're not going to be getting a Doge refund. It's not going to lower our taxes for the middle class. None of that. Just cuts so that we can afford, at the end of the day, for the rich, the ultra wealthy, to get their tax cuts. And somehow, I still have people in the comment section debating this. Folks, we're all on the same side here. Get it out of your head. Left versus right. It's up versus down. That's what it is. Quit licking the boots of the billionaires, guys. Come on, we're all in this together. Let's go. Share this with your mother. All right. We got a lot of content coming your way, so stick around. I'll be back in a minute. I'm Dave Neal. This is The Rush.